was really nice hearing the woos. Thank you so much. So, I'm going to start with my story. Christmas Day 2001, 7-year-old Yelitsa is excited to open her presents because I know most of them are going to be dolls because that's what I loved when I was growing up. But my parents handed me a very specific doll, a black Barbie. And when they did, I instantly started crying. Not the reaction you would expect. They didn't expect that either. I started crying because, to me, it wasn't the real Barbie because it wasn't the pretty Barbie. And how was I to know any better when the only images that I saw as beautiful were the blue-eyed, blonde, white Barbie dolls? So I started distancing myself from anything that could associate me with blackness, because why would I want to be associated with the one thing that I'm shown that nobody likes? I started talking a certain way, dressing a certain way, acting a certain way, because I saw how my peers treated the other black students. I didn't want to be one of those black girls, whatever that means. And it wasn't until college that I finally started unpacking these issues and embracing my natural self. And it's so funny because it was such a simple thing that helped me. It was hair. So my freshman year, I met a friend named Tiara who had recently big chopped, and what that means is she cut off all of her hair, all of it, gone, like poof. And I was so shocked because when I saw pictures of her, I was like, why did you cut off all your hair? It was so beautiful, it was so long. And her response to me was, I didn't want to deal with chemicals anymore. And to me, that was incredibly valid because so many women of color use perms to straighten their hair, either because they want to or they feel pressure to. And it has a negative impact because of health issues and other things. And her telling me that story and her experience made me realize and start questioning, well, why don't I know what my natural hair looks like? And so I decided to embrace my natural too because she did it and she looked beautiful. So that was really inspiring for me. And there were other things that happened later on in my college career that inspired me as well. I was moved by the Black Lives Matter movement, especially as an artist, and I asked myself, as a woman of color and an artist, how can I contribute to this conversation? I later learned in a class exactly how I was going to do that. So I'm in my RISD class, and I'll never forget, one of my classmates said, "It is not our responsibility as art students to be socially aware or responsible." And that is when I definitely knew that it was our specific responsibility to do just that. I'm so glad you guys agree with me, like it's really important. So in that class, I started working on a project, and I started addressing issues of diversity in children's media because I noticed that there was a serious lack. In 2014 alone, there were 5,000 books made, but only 8% were about children of color. But over 50% of children in the US are of color. So like those numbers just don't add up. It doesn't make any sense. And so I started thinking, how can I as an artist address these issues of diversity, but also issues that affect me personally that I see impacting young girls of color as well? Colorism and internalized racism. Colorism is a social hierarchy where those with lighter skin experience favoritism, but those with darker skin experience mistreatment. In my research, I came across the Mammy Clarke doll test. Is anyone familiar with that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes? All right, so I'll tell you about it. So the Mammy Clarke doll test is a test that was conducted to measure racial bias among white children and black children by asking them to ascribe either positive or negative attributes to either a white baby doll or a black baby doll. The results were used in the Brown versus Board of Education trial. So they would ask questions like, which one is the pretty doll? Which one is the ugly doll? Which one is the nice doll? Which one is the bad doll? And the white children overwhelmingly ascribed negative attributes to the black baby doll. But surprisingly, not surprisingly, the black children also ascribed negative attributes to the black baby dolls as well. And this is a test that has been conducted several times since then, and a couple times in the past 5 years alone, to similar results. And this is a prime example of just exactly how internalized racism is shown throughout children's lives. They take these images in, and it impacts their self-esteem and their self-confidence, and that's how they perceive themselves. And so I myself have also struggled with those issues. I remember going to Florida, which is supposed to be fun, right? I go to Disney World, I go to the beach, all good stuff. And I came back, and instead of my family asking for pictures, what I did, what did you eat, they turned to my mother and they said, "Why did you let her get so dark?" As if there's something wrong with having dark skin. So imagine being a child and hearing that almost every day, and then also having it reinforced in the media when you don't see people that look like you. It impacts your self-esteem and how you feel about yourself. And so taking all this information, I had to figure out a way to take my skills as an artist and what I know about colorism and how it impacts children and create a solution to solve this problem. And I thought again about that black doll experience that I had when I was little with the Barbie, and I realized that toys are a great way to solve this problem. At a young age, toys influence how we think, how we act, and how we see ourselves. Yet, with all these amazing children's products, I've never seen a doll that looks like me. Have any of you seen a doll that looks like me? No? Yeah? No? All right, I didn't think so. And I decided that it was long overdue for black girls to finally have dolls that look like themselves, because no one should feel less than because of the color of their skin or the texture of their hair. So that's why I created Healthy Roots. It's a toy company. We create dolls that teach natural hair care to young girls of color in order to combat colorism and internalized racism. The dolls come in different skin tones, facial features, hair textures. So we can show the diversity of the African diaspora and show that beauty isn't one shade or one look. We all know that, right? We also created a book that teaches girls hair care step by step. It's pretty fun, it makes it easier, and helps girls embrace their natural hair. So this was my first time being an entrepreneur. I've never done it before. I'm an art student, not a business student, and I learned a lot. It was challenging, it was hard, but with the help of people in my community, and some of you out here, it made the journey easier. But one thing that I disliked about my experience as an entrepreneur was when people would use my story as a woman of color and a first-time business owner to justify telling other people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. It's not that easy. African American founding companies receive less than 1% of VC funding, and entrepreneurs of color still struggle daily with challenges because of discrimination and issues of diversity. But I'm always hopeful because of young girls I see rising to the challenge, girls like Maya Penn, who at 8 years old founded her first company, Maya's Ideas, and is now 15 years old, a seasoned entrepreneur veteran, and has already created 2 children's books that she's illustrated herself. And then there's Michaela Ulmer, who at 11 years old started Bee Sweet Lemonade because after she got stung by a bee, she wanted to learn more about them and realized that they were in danger and wanted to help save them. So she used her honey in her lemonade. She also just closed an $11 million deal with Whole Foods. That's pretty amazing. And my favorite story is about Marley Diaz, who started hashtag 1000 Black Girl Books. Has anyone heard of that? Yes, it's amazing. Why did she start it? This is the greatest story. She started it because she was tired of reading about books that have specifically white boys and their dogs. And she wanted to see more girls that looked like her. And it was amazing. She had so much social media press. She got so much support, financial support, and she was on Ellen. But to me, the most amazing thing is the fact that she shed light on the lack of diversity in children's books. And I share these girl stories because so often women of color have to take problems onto themselves and inspire other people. Whether it's Shonda Rhimes creating some of the most amazing television I've ever watched. I don't know if you guys watch it, I love it. Or Marley Diaz finally getting some black girls for books. When you're ignored by the mainstream media, you have to become a problem solver, you have to become an innovator, and you have to become smart. You have to be smart about it. We have to be safe, we have to solve our own problems. And I don't look forward to a future where we're continued to be plagued by these social problems from our past or right now, but I do look forward to a future where more young women rise to the occasion through innovative solutions and a little bit of black girl magic. And my hope is that all of you here will support the work that I and other young women are doing because we need your help to change the world. Thank you.